Are we live? SpaceX IPO. What? We've just gotten news that SpaceX has filed its IPO filing. I'm about to go. I have not even looked at this yet, but this is just what's hit for the folks. I'm going to give a couple seconds for the people to join, get a cup of tea or something. I'm just going to make sure I'm live. Also, if any homies want to text me because they want to join the stream, or DM me on X. If you want to join the stream, we can have live people call in because this is about to be epic. We have the whole SpaceX S-1 filing. We're about to go through it right now. Let me just double check that I'm live. Got the SpaceX hat on. I don't know if y'all can see that. Make sure to get all your SpaceX merch going. Okay, looks like I'm live on YouTube. We got 4 people tuning in. Let's go. Shout out 4 people. And am I on X? Who knows? Let's see. I think I'm live right now. Let's go. Let's go. Okay, I'm just tweeting it to get the most people in. I don't know how many people. Pin. Adding to highlights. All right, we're doing everything to crank up the stream. Say what up if you're in here. Let's see. Do we got the comments flowing? Let's go. All right, history in the making. What are we waiting for? It's time to It's time to do the SpaceX IPO. I'm freaking out. I almost don't want to do it. Okay, I click. Oh. So this is the 300-page document that SpaceX has finally made public. This has all of the information about the company as we head into the IPO, every little detail. As you can see, it's super official looking, kind of boring and hard to read. Honestly, not the most beautiful of documents, but that's why I'm here. We're going to go through the whole thing. Elon Musk, CEO, based at One Rocket Road, Starbase, Texas, their own city. How badass is that? Then we got all the lawyers. None of this part is too important. As you can see, they haven't filled in all the specifics yet. They're probably still thinking that through. There's going to be a bunch of different drafts. I put the link in the YouTube description of this page. You can click on SpaceX S-1 filing. That's the thing to click on and look at. So they're going to do they're going to publish a bunch of drafts. There's going to be S1-A, S1-A, tons of drafts of this before it's actually the final version. But this is pretty much going to have everything we need. Like, wow. This is already getting epic. Oh, they're taking us through the whole history here. Space 2002. Wow. Here we go. Some big milestones. I'm going to take a sip of tea. (2008) it looks like was the first rock. Sorry, I'm doing my tea right now. Everyone's got to get a good cup of tea for this. This is about to be epic. The thing that I'm looking forward to most is the financials of Starlink, the growth rates, the margins, the future, all of that stuff is about to be in here. Highlights for SpaceX, 650 total launches, 85% missions flown with reuse boosters, 78 people flown. That's crazy. 80% of global mass to orbit, dominating the space industry. Connectivity. Ooh, this is interesting. So they're kind of framing the business differently here, like launches, they're calling it space, and then connectivity. 2020, this is going to be Starlink over here. 2019, begin deploying a large, low-scale, low Earth orbit broadband satellite constellation. Low latency, low Earth orbit network. 2025, deploying it. Ooh, here we got some Starlink stats. 9,600 satellites. Wow. 75% are active maneuverable satellites. Not sure what that means, but that's cool. 164 countries, 10.3 million subscribers. I'm pretty sure this might even already be at 12, but highlights as of March 31st. So this is already 2 months late, the numbers. We're going to get the Q1 numbers here. AI. Wow. 2026 gigawatt scale AI training cluster in space. Is that news right now? Gigawatt scale megapack battery installation. Wait, what? They're launching an AI training cluster in space, and I'm sure there's a ton of breaking news hitting right now that I don't know as people are reading through this. So there could be gazillions of new breaking news. Nameplate compute draw, 1 gigabyte, 4 major model versions, $350 million posts. Wow. Oh, this is X. They're talking about X too. 550 million. I'm assuming that's X, not Grok. Our mission here, official mission from SpaceX, to build the systems and technology necessary to make life multiplanetary, to understand the true nature of the universe, and extend the light of consciousness to the stars. I mean, this is the most epic IPO of all time, because it's not just about another company that making a ton of money that's already huge. This is about a company with a huge, crazy mission to get us to Mars, that is in the infancy of its growth, despite being already valued at $2 trillion. I mean, this is so epic. We've never had anything like this. Literally history in the making today. Like, people are going to be talking about how when SpaceX filed its IPO S-1 filing. Look at this. All these epic images of the rockets. Love this. There we go. That's a satellite array there. Wow. Look at all. I want to go to a rocket launch so bad. I mean, how epic does this look? All right. We got to get into the numbers. Wow. They're really giving us a lot of rocket pictures. Okay. So now we're getting into the overview of the company here. This is just some sort of legal terms describing everything. Wow. This is going to be crazy. Lot of terms. Starshield, Starship, Super Rock Light, Super Rock Heavy, TBPS, Terrafab, XAI.gov, X Premium, satellite names, V1, V2, V3. Ooh, okay, here we go. Prospectus summary. This is the meat. This is where it actually starts. We're getting into it. Let's go. Starting out with a banger Elon Musk quote. You want to wake up in the morning and think the future is going to be great. And that's what being a spacefaring civilization is all about. It's about believing in the future, thinking about that future will be better than the past. And I can't think of anything more exciting than going out there and being among the stars. Elon Musk, the GOAT himself, setting this crazy ambitious quote to start. I love it. Let's see. What's the actual mission of SpaceX, though? Officially, on paper, in the IPO filing, our mission is to build the systems and technologies necessary to make life multiplanetary. I mean, that's already a statement right there, because life is not multiplanetary, and that's ambitious as crazy ambitious. Then, to understand the true nature of the universe, that's Grok. To extend the light of consciousness to the stars. To do this, we have formed the most ambitious, vertically integrated innovation engine on and off Earth with unmatched capabilities to rapidly manufacture and launch space-based communications that connect the world, to harness the sun, to power a truth-seeking artificial intelligence that advances scientific discovery, and ultimately to build a base on the moon and cities on other planets. Wow, that was a crazy mouthful, but I mean, that almost warrants another read through and just look at. I'm just going to read through it real quick. I mean, this is a tech titan that we haven't seen the likes of before. I mean, they're literally launching rockets on space. You might be watching this live stream on X right now, which is crazy. Let's see if we have any good comments here. If they don't buy Tesla, it's going to tank. Starlink just raised its rate. Anthropic has agreed to pay SpaceX $1.25 billion per month through May 2029 for compute. Wow, we haven't even gotten there yet. So there's all sorts of crazy stuff happening. Okay. Overview. Founded in 2002, SpaceX is the only company building the integrated hardware and software infrastructure of the future across space, connectivity, and AI. At our core, we are builders. We design, manufacture, launch, and operate products and services. 80% of mass to orbit, 99% mission success rate, 9,600 satellites. That's the big number. 164 countries. XAI, founded in 2023, acquired by SpaceX in 2026. Huge pillar of the company. With Grok, designed as the truth-seeking AI model built on our founder Elon Musk's mission to understand the universe. Interesting. Grok, within its 2 years of its initial model release, Grok achieved frontier-level performance in scientific reasoning as measured by its GPQA Diamond score, an industry benchmark that evaluates AI models. Okay, so they're saying Grok is good. Space. SpaceX is the only company that has cracked the code on accessing space at scale, revolutionizing an industry characterized by decades of stagnation, risk aversion, economically perverse cost structures. SpaceX upended this paradigm through the application of first principles thinking, which rejects industry assumptions and builds solutions based on the fundamental laws of physics. Our intense, mission-driven, engineering-first culture and focus on extreme vertical integration have propelled us to achieve what many deemed impossible. Wow, 10-year lead over the industry by successfully landing our first reusable booster. Space flight that has historically cost billions per launch, now in the cost of tens of millions, fundamentally reducing the cost of space access, providing the opportunity to build new enterprise in space. I mean, there's so many little words and sentences in here that are going to get lost, but this idea that SpaceX is building a platform for other companies to use for humanity to go back to space is such a big idea. And that's why 100x decrease in launch costs, which was their first innovation, is huge. And I think this is the math right here that is going to be why we have a massive the space economy. And it's going to be the biggest piece of the economy. Okay, so they're talking Starlink. I almost want to just skip right to the numbers right now. Wow, AI. Okay, this is very interesting. Grok and X have over 1.3 billion supported accounts active in 12 months, including 550 million MAUs, generating 350 million daily posts. Of our MAUs, we had approximately 117 million that use Grok features. So they have 550 million people using X. 117 of those, let's call it 25%, are using Grok. So that's pretty interesting. Ooh, financial results. I'm freaking out. Okay, Grok said it was about 5.2 billion for March. Now it's looking like 4.7 billion is the official revenue number from SpaceX. That's right, 4.7 billion in Q1. That's just about a $20 billion run rate. They want to IPO this thing for $2 trillion. So this is looking like a over 100x trailing revenue run rate. And now this is going to be very interesting. Space segment generated 619 million of revenue and a loss of 600 million. Interesting. In 2025, the space segment full year was 4.1 billion. 2025 total revenue was 18.7 billion. Very interesting. So this year, maybe they'll probably go for 25 or 30 billion, up from 18.7 billion. Wow, I can't believe we're actually getting to see these numbers. It's fun because SpaceX is under 20 billion right now, and it is about to have such a generational run of quarter after quarter of nonstop growth. We're about to get a sense of the growth in a second here, but space business. This is interesting. Connectivity, which is Starlink, 3.3 million and income of 1.2 billion. Whoa. So Starlink is doing 3.3 million in the quarter of revenue, 3.3 billion. Sorry, I'm mixing up the numbers here. 3.3 billion of revenue in the quarter and an income of 1.1 billion. That's per quarter. That would be almost 4.5 to 5 billion per year of earnings just from Starlink. So that is crazy. That's basically all of Tesla's earnings is what Starlink is doing. So that's wow. We knew Starlink was profitable. Now we have got that official breaking news confirmation. Starlink is even more profitable than we think, with like 30% of Starlink's revenue going straight to the bottom line. This is crazy. 1.2 billion in the quarter. Adjusted EBITDA was 2 billion in the quarter. What? So that was an $11.4 billion business last year that made 4.4 billion in profit. Wow. So, and that was year-over-year growth of 50%. So 50% growth in Starlink last year. Our newly acquired AI segment, which we plan to prioritize growth and investment to capture significant opportunities in AI applications and computer infrastructure. For 3 months, our AI segment generated $818 million in revenue and a loss of 2.5 billion. So huge loss, 3.2 billion in overall revenue last year from the AI segment. I think that's going to include X. So very interesting. For the 3 months ending in March, our CapEx, capital expenditures for space, was $1 billion. That's got to be Starship. Connectivity was $1.3 billion for Starlink launches, I guess. And for AI chips, $7.7 billion. So does that make sense? In the 3 months in March, their overall CapEx was like $10 billion for SpaceX. So we thought Tesla doing $25 billion a year was a lot of CapEx. How about SpaceX doing what? 10 billion a quarter. So that's 40 billion a year. Probably going to be way more than that soon. So this is why they're IPOing, because the amount of expenditures for the growth is insane. I mean, to spend over 50% of your revenue on CapEx is crazy. So in 2025, the CapEx overall for all the businesses looks like 21 billion. Wow. So this is a lot more spending than I thought was happening. Wow. Okay. So now they have a why this matters now. They're going into, for all of human life, we've lived on one planet, blah, blah, blah. Ooh, rapid emergence of AI intensifies the urgency of our mission, as AI has the potential to accelerate not only space exploration, but also transformative societal advancements on Earth. Wow. Oh, this is interesting. They're getting into the data center stuff here. On Earth, the massive expansion of data center capacity to support growing compute demand is significantly outpacing electricity generation, which is flat in the US for 15 years, growing at a compound annual growth rate of just 0.1%. We are not adding any power. That's crazy. China's grown at twice that rate. So basically, they're saying that we need to step up and move all of compute to space to get to this Kardashev 2 level status here. And here, now they're going to get into, this is really the meat of it. And this is why these S-1 filings are so fascinating historical documents here. They are going to go deep, unparalleled launch capabilities. They're going to tell you everything about how this was developed. So, I mean, this is what's crazy to me is the 99% success rate of the Falcon rocket. Insane. Now they're going through all of their rockets here that they have developed. The Falcon 9, incredible. That's really the workhorse that has done so much of the launches. Reusable. Falcon Heavy. $11 launches as of March. 100% mission success rate for Falcon Heavy. That's a much heavier one. Dragon, delivering cargo to the International Space Station. Wow, that's super. And built the first privately built vehicle to fly humans orbiting to the orbiting laboratory. Flown 78 crew members from 20 countries in the Dragon capsule. Wow. Okay, Starship. This is what everything depends on. What are they saying about Starship? Starship. First launch in 2023. Starship's designed to be fully reusable, super heavy lift launch vehicle. 100 metric tons to Earth orbit. They have executed 11 Starship tests. The next one's tomorrow, which is crazy. This is all heating up. Super exciting. Wait, I'm going to see if I got any text. Does anyone want to join? If you're watching the live stream, you want to join, hit me up on texts. Let's see what I got. Any DMs here? We're going crazy. I'm so excited. I'm curious I'm checking X right now because I just want to see if there's any crazy news that I'm missing that's going on right now. I mean, people have got to be pouring over this thing. There's so many pages. All right, we got to keep going. We're on page 5 right now. There's like 400 million pages. Starlink. Interesting. Enterprise solutions. AI compute. I want to get to the point where they're working with Claude. Ooh, Terafab. Interesting. Truth-seeking model frontier. A key competitive differentiator is Grok's deep integration with X, providing access to a real-time information stream, approximately 350 million daily posts. So I think that's a lot bigger thing than people are realizing too. When you think about the data edge that X could have, or an XAI, owning the X platform itself is huge. Orbital AI can accelerate time to power and reduce token costs. We are poised to deliver on the compute. And that's what's interesting. They're kind of saying here that their Starlink satellites are already kind of like mini data centers in space. So, and they have 99.9% average uptime. So the connectivity layer of data centers in space is huge. And that's what they have. Collab with Tesla in March to do the Terafab. Wow. Okay, now we're getting juicy. Strengths, bullet points. We can really soak this in. Global leadership in orbital launch services, unrivaled satellite connectivity platform, true seeking AI model, unique ability to scale new trillion-dollar markets across space connectivity and AI, world-class talent. Our growth strategies: increase payload launch capacity, establish the lunar economy, including cargo transport, manufacturing, and energy production on the moon. So this is huge. SpaceX's space launch business, which we almost forget about because we're thinking, oh, data centers in space, Starlink. There's almost so much to cover here. But sorry, I already losing my voice. This is bad. But establishing the lunar economy. I mean, we're gonna have an insane moon base, it sounds like, and there's a ton of industry that's gonna happen on the moon. I mean, they're gonna launch data centers in space from the moon, and I think there's going to be, I'm already seeing in terms of AI, or the VC world, is all these space startups talking about the moon infrastructure, all the value that's going to happen from the moon base. So maybe this idea that Starship is still the best way to move things back and forth from the moon, and as that economy grows, the space business itself could actually become huge. So don't sleep on the moon base. This isn't what you're thinking of as like, oh, one little guy goes to the moon and there's a hut there. They're actually going to be real industry, real stuff happening on the moon. Connectivity, they want to grow Starlink broadband customers, expand Starlink mobile, increase the capacity of constellations. AI, grow X monetization. Space tourism, that's interesting. Point-to-point terrestrial travel, in-orbit manufacturing, passenger and cargo transport for the moon and Mars, energy production on the moon and Mars, manufacturing capabilities on the moon and Mars, asteroid mining? Whoa. SpaceX says asteroid mining. Everyone's always like, is that just fluff? Is that actually going to be a thing? And now SpaceX is making an official way. Okay, I got to get more tea. I'll be right back. Hold on. 1 second. Just one second. We back. Wow. Asteroid mining? Cannot believe that. SpaceX is going to get into some asteroid mining. This is next level. No one saw that coming. Don't think Elon's ever mentioned that. There's probably so many little tidbits in this filing that are just like that. Wow. Energy production on the moon and Mars, passenger cargo to the moon and Mars, in-orbit manufacturing. This is crazy too. In-orbit manufacturing. I mean, that's a whole nother market that nobody's been thinking about. The ability to construct stuff in space. Like, what? When Tesla moon? That's funny. Tea time. It is tea time right now. Yeah, what's going to happen? I mean, I want to make a whole nother episode about, is it good for Tesla? How will Tesla and SpaceX combine? I don't think it's actually a done deal that the two companies will combine. There needs to be a vote. It's going to be a whole big thing. So I think the focus right now is get SpaceX public, maybe do an all for stock merger in a year or so. But I don't know. I think that's super up in the air. Like, when does this SpaceX IPO actually happen? The SpaceX IPO is actually going to happen in like a month. But when do they actually merge with Tesla? Maybe never. I mean, I think Ron Barron was actually just downplaying the likelihood of a full merger. He is super in the know and one of the closest people to Elon, one of the biggest investors. So if he says don't count on the merger, then I definitely wouldn't be counting on it. Okay, I got more tea. We're going to keep going. Oh, we're in the good. Damn, I was just one page away from all the juicy good stuff. The TAM, 28.5 trillion. This number already leaked, to be honest, but ooh, they break it down. This is fascinating. So why is this so interesting? This chart right here is going to show us what SpaceX thinks its biggest future businesses are. So this gives you a lot of, reverse engineered insight into where SpaceX is trying to make money, essentially. Where they're saying SpaceX worth $2 trillion. Why? Because we're going to dominate this $28.5 trillion market. And what's crazy is space is only $370 billion. Space is looking eensy weensy as a part of SpaceX's overall plan. That's so funny to say that space is such a tiny part. Almost 1%, just 1% of SpaceX's TAM is space. Like, that's crazy. Starlink broadband and Starlink mobile. So these two, now we're looking at a $1.6 trillion TAM for just connectivity. So this huge market, insane potential. We're talking Starlink on your phone. I just put out the video Star Phone. You should all go watch that. I think that is still such a dope idea that SpaceX would launch a Grok powered AI phone that doesn't have social media or scrolling, that stops the doom scrolling and creates a rugged satellite phone that just has AI and maps and texting, basically. I think the Star Phone is such a low-hanging fruit idea. That could add another $10 trillion bucket to this TAM. I don't know why they didn't put that in there. Maybe they're trying to downplay it. Maybe they don't want to do a phone. Maybe Elon's just waiting for Neuralink. But I think the idea that this 1.6 trillion with Starlink right now, that's just kind of them doing what they're doing, I think. I mean, maybe a lot of that Starlink mobile, maybe this is the phone right here, this 740 billion Starlink mobile piece of the pie. Then Starlink broadband, 870 billion. So this is already interesting because even though this is a tiny piece of the pie, Starlink right now is doing 11, 12, 13 billion in revenue run rate. They're telling you it has 100x potential in terms of revenue growth from here. So these are the reasons why SpaceX is getting such a high valuation. Also, shout out to my merch. Y'all didn't see I'm rocking my SpaceX merch today. But I mean, and this is the other thing I'm thinking about. Starlink was only growing at 49%. Not to put any down vibes on it, but that was a little slower than I thought. Starlink would be growing, because what's going to be crazy is now this whole other bucket, space and connectivity, is being dwarfed by AI. AI, even though it's a much smaller piece of SpaceX's business today, is where all the money is going to be made. That is the holy grail. They're telling you right here, there's 22.7 trillion of value on the table in AI. That's renting out chips with Cursor. That's renting out space to Claude. So that's why you're seeing SpaceX make these deals. They're telling you in the AI filing, we're going to make more money from AI than space or Starlink. That's crazy to me. And the bulk of it, AI infrastructure, this is probably, renting out chips to Anthropic, Cursor deal, subscriptions. I mean, maybe that's Grok Super Plus. Then you have digital advertising. That's X. This could actually be a small TAM for that. I don't know. Enterprise applications. This is crazy. This is basically macro hard competing with Microsoft. I mean, you think about Microsoft, 5 trillion, one of the largest companies in the world. It's interesting they don't put chips on here. I guess chips are powering all of this, but they don't put chips, as selling chips is a big market here. That's interesting. But enterprise applications is essentially Tesla's macro hard project. The macro hard project is this idea that you could basically have an AI replicate what Microsoft does, and you wouldn't need all these apps. You wouldn't need to pay Microsoft a ton of money. They're building I'm pretty sure one of their massive data centers is called Macro Hard. There was a guy who was working on it, who did an interview with Ty Morse that leaked too much information, and then he got fired. But apparently he was talking about Macro Hard, and how this kind of almost like a stealth project within Grok, XAI, and SpaceX now to compete with Microsoft and build this new productivity software, have a digital Optimus essentially, which is something that would basically be like you on a computer. Track how I input on the mouse and the keyboard and replicate that and do the tasks that I do on the computer. So I don't know if that will take over. I don't know, but it's interesting to me to say, macro hard, SpaceX going into this new AI business software segment. Like, that doesn't seem like the story. Like, when you think AI, SpaceX IPO taking over, you know, enterprise software did not seem like the TAM. But they're telling you, out of the $28.5 trillion that SpaceX sees as its opportunity, $23 trillion, like 80%, whatever, 70%, 75% of their target market is enterprise software. Like, what? I don't even know if that makes sense, honestly. I'm feeling weird about this. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I think SpaceX could be justified just with this connectivity and space business, moon base, blah, blah, blah. And then you got some Grok AI subscriptions on it. We're looking at trillions. But enterprise application, like, what are they put? Maybe they're going to explain this here. Because I'd be very curious to know. Ooh, collaboration with Cursor. We're about to get to that. We're getting into the good stuff. Sorry, I'm drinking tea because I'm losing my voice. This is not the time to lose my voice, honestly. Okay, our challenges. Let's see if anyone's commented anything cool. Elon's new XAI model is going to take over Anthropic, and Anthropic is going to lose market share and won't be able to pay XAI 5D chess. Love how we're scheming here. I mean, what's crazy is Elon is totally flip-flopped on Anthropic. So he went from saying Anthropic's misanthropic, they're not going to last, to all of a sudden like, oh, they're pretty good, to all of a sudden like, we're renting them out all of our chips. Just today, the new CEO of Anthropic was talking about, or the head of compute for Anthropic was thanking Elon in a tweet saying, we just did this huge deal. Thank you so much, Elon. Fired up to keep partnering. And then yesterday, you had the LeBron James making the decision level news of Andrej Karpathy. If you don't know who Andrej Karpathy is and you're watching HyperChane right now, I got bad news for you. You're missing the boat. I mean, this dude is the MVP. He's OpenAI. He was Stanford. He was Tesla Autopilot. Came up with, anyway, he's a legend. Elon's been trying to recruit him. Next thing you know, he's going to Anthropic. So we got Andrej Karpathy going to Anthropic. I think Anthropic is going to, oh, okay. What happens to loyalty deserves loyalty for Tesla shareholders. That's I like that comment here. So on X, I got the X comments coming in. I got the YouTube. I'm loving this. Okay. That is the question. Elon Musk has said he wants to be loyal to the Tesla shareholders. In the space of SpaceX IPO, I know SpaceX is granting a lot more shares to retail investors. If they're going to have some system to get Tesla investors access to those first, that's super cool. But to be honest, this is very up in the air. And I think it's very logistically tricky for Elon to give a benefit to Tesla shareholders. But I would argue we're already getting a benefit. We have the Elon premium. Tesla's trading at 1.5 trillion with 95 billion in revenue last year and declining. I mean, I think Tesla's valued insanely well. So Tesla shareholders doing well. I'm holding on all my Tesla stock. Full disclosure, I also have I invested in SpaceX. If my shares come through, which who knows if they're coming through. I'm invested in some SPVs. I'm nothing to do with SpaceX officially. Then my SpaceX position will be double my Tesla position. So we'll see if it's 2 trillion, whatever. That's just the math I did. So that's why maybe I'm a little biased and I'm like, who cares if Tesla and SpaceX merge? I already got stock in both, blah, blah, blah. That's okay. That's where I'm coming from. If I was just owning Tesla, I would be having FOMO right now. I would honestly be having a ton of FOMO because you're seeing this value go exponential. And I think on one hand, there's a misconception with SpaceX because people think, oh, it's worth 2 trillion. It was only worth 400 billion a year ago. And it's had this exponential rise. Well, that's because SpaceX had been suppressing its actual fair value and share price for a long time. In these secondary transactions, not letting it get ahead of itself. Tesla has not had that idea and gift of ability to control the share price and suppress it. Tesla's letting expectations get way ahead of itself, and the stock is flat for 5 years. So there's a lot going on in dynamics of public and private markets that just make Tesla and SpaceX different. But now when they're both going public, I think we're going to get a lot more apples to apples comparison. I could easily see, Tesla when Optimus 3.0 comes out, I mean, that's going to be crazy. But I'm going to scroll so you guys can read a different part of this. But I could easily see this SpaceX IPO getting super... Here, I'm going to try and get the other... There we go. So I'm on the corner. I could see the SpaceX IPO going bananas. I mean, they're already talking about rules of letting the NASDAQ 100 buy this right away. It might get included in the S&P 500 fast track. So if the indexes are forced to buy this, I could see SpaceX pop into like 4 trillion, 5 trillion, and then coming down to like 3 trillion, 2 trillion. So I think it's going to be very volatile, extremely, extremely volatile. This is going to be a crazy IPO. So I also kind of think, and this is never financial advice, but there's going to be a drawdown. You know, there's going to be a time when a rocket blows up, everyone's sour on Elon, no one's going to want SpaceX anymore. It's going to be trading at half the price everyone's begging to get in at an SPV before it IPO'd, and nobody's going to want it, and everyone's going to forget about SpaceX, and it's going to be hilarious to watch. I'm already predicting that. So back to the S-1 filing. What am I doing? I'm getting distracted. I got my tea. I almost want to show you guys my tea setup because it's so cool. So I got this little Gung Fu style cup. I'm actually doing, I had to do a crazy tea today. It's a oolong from Taiwan that's bug bitten. So it's bitten on purpose by these bugs that creates the tea leaf has to create like some more sugar compounds or something. So it's a super fancy oolong tea, and I'm loving it. I had to celebrate for the SpaceX IPO. I mean, this is history in the making, folks. All right, so get your cup of tea. We're going to crank in this and keep going through the S1. Okay. Wow, loving that we got comments too. Any more comments? Yeah. Tesla and SpaceX, so much business together. They're intertwined. Gally, are you concerned about the layers in your SPV investment? How many would you get? Yeah, I'm massively concerned about the layers in my SPV investment. To be honest, though, when I invested in SpaceX, I did it through people I trusted. I think that is the number one thing. If you're doing it through people who you trust, who you know have a connection to the company, that's, I think, the best way to do the SPV game. There's a lot of talk right now about, too many SPVs. SpaceX was a mess. Nobody wants Anthropic SPVs being traded. We just did a deal on HyperGuap that was confidential, and there was a lot of scrambling of who actually has shares. So it's a mess, honestly. And that's one reason I'm so grateful for this IPO filing. That's why I'm doing this live stream. That's why I'm hyped on the S1, because now we have SpaceX saying, we're not at maturity. We need money. We're about to grow 100x from here. And take over this $28 trillion market, and we're going to let you guys in on it. And yeah, it's probably a little later than we all wished, but it's not too late. And I think now it's setting a precedent where now Anthropic's going to IPO, OpenAI is going to IPO. Hopefully this lets up a flood of other companies IPO, and America can get access to its greatest innovators and disruptors. Okay. Challenges of the business. Okay, this is what we wanted to get on. Recent developments, the collab with Cursor. Ooh, okay. So in April, they entered into a compute and option agreement with AnySphere Inc., which is Cursor. Under the agreement, we will provide Cursor with certain GPU cluster compute capacity and collaborate to improve existing models, including Grok, potentially jointly develop AI models and related specific deliverables. With the option agreement, we have the right but not obligation to acquire Cursor at a predetermined price or pay a fee. Wow. $60 billion. Class A common stocks. They would get SpaceX stock averaged over 7 days. $1.5 billion termination fee. Interesting. Wow. Okay, and now this is going to get into Anthropic's deal. Whoa. Okay, this is getting exciting right now. But let's just dive into the Cursor deal here. So we have right now, here's the Cursor deal. It's looking like a $60 billion deal. If they want to buy them in stock, which at $2 trillion based on this is a steal. I'm telling you right now, Elon made a power move. No one saw this Cursor move coming. It came out of left field, but this is going to pay huge dividends. At first, everyone was confused, but then, I heard the gossip that Silicon Valley was in the middle of this $60 billion valuation, $50 billion valuation funding round for Cursor. Everyone's about to wire money. This is one of the hottest deals in Silicon Valley. The last minute, Elon swoops in, breaks up the whole deal, gets Cursor. What does XAI have that Cursor needs? Compute. So now basically, and you could say that's another interesting thing where XAI and Grok overbuilt their compute. That's a big weakness. Why are they doing data centers in space when they can't even fill all their own compute here on Earth? But then that turns into an insanely strategic position to be in, to have these assets. and then essentially have the ability to rent them out to Cursor and then do this deal with Anthropic. But now, I mean, $60 billion in stock for Cursor is looking like an insane steal. I hope we get into the financials of Cursor here in this filing. I heard they're doing 2.73 billion annual run rate, exploding to 8 to 10 billion by the end of this year. I mean, we just saw SpaceX all of last year did only 18 billion in revenue. If Cursor could be half that. Cursor's going to accelerate this growth rate from 40%, boring, blah, 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 never hitting 100 bill in years, to we're hitting 100 bill in like 2027, 2028 run rate based on this addition of Cursor revenue. Cursor revenue could become more than half of SpaceX's overall revenue next year or something like that. If I got the numbers right, we're going to have to dive into that. But that's crazy how much it changes the trajectory. Now we have this deal with Anthropic. So now they're getting into like an AWS-like business, renting out servers and compute. Okay. Also providing select compute to third-party customers. For example, in May, we entered cloud services agreements. Literally, they're SpaceX is a cloud company. Now, I guess this makes sense why the enterprise software application could be so big. If they're assuming that that's cloud services, then whoa. And maybe that's what the terafab and the chips are. This $28.5 trillion market, enterprise applications, is the chips. It is the terafab because that all goes into the compute services that they need for themselves or for third parties. And that's why they're essentially enterprise applications is hiding the terafab. Oh, I scrolled past it. Wow. So what? Anthropic has agreed to pay SpaceX $1.25 billion per month through May 2029, with capacity ramping in May and June in 2026 at a reduced fee. Wait, okay. So what I just said about Cursor, this is what's crazy. This is why Elon is shaking and baking deal maker of the decade right now. He has gone from SpaceX doing $20 billion, growing at 40%, to we just added $13 billion, $1.25 billion per month. No, that's 16 billion. They basically doubled their revenue overnight with this deal with Anthropic. That's crazy. SpaceX doubled their revenue overnight with Cursor and Anthropic. That's crazy. So now we're going to be at a 40 billion revenue run rate by the end of the year. Maybe 50 billion revenue run rate by the end of the year instead of 25 billion. So we were just 60 days ago, Elon Musk and SpaceX were looking at a $20 billion company doing $40 billion in revenue next year. Now with Cursor and all this compute from Anthropic, we're going to go from 20 billion. Yeah. 50, 60. I mean, he just changed the growth trajectory. Maybe I said the numbers wrong there, but he changed it. Okay. Elon Musk is the dictator of the company. I actually, frankly, love that because I think the board of directors rule by committee never works. Never works. That's all I'm saying. And especially when you have a mission like Mars, until that gets established, if they want to focus on that, this is almost like a charity. It's like a benefit corporation. That's why SpaceX is such a unique asset, because you're not just investing in a company to make money, you're investing in a company that actually has this mission to colonize Mars. So to me, this is almost just like a charity. Like it has a directive above capitalism in a way, which is to go to Mars, and that is enforced by this structure where Elon Musk actually is in control of the company. So I think it's beautiful and cool that humans are electing with their money in capitalism to support something that has a cause other than just to make the most money with rockets. It's like, no, we actually want to go to Mars. So how long is the lockup? Who knows? Too bad we weren't invested. I'm reading the comments here. Anything funny? Gally wants them to merge because he knows his SpaceX stock is overvalued. That's clowning. Okay, let's keep going through this. Risk factors. This, they literally got to say anything that could go wrong ever. I'm going to let y'all read that at your own time. Dividend policy. No cash dividends in the near future. There you go, folks. No dividends. Not that anyone's counting on it, but they put it there. Wow, I'm so excited to analyze SpaceX's quarterly financials. You're watching HyperChane, by the way. My name's Gally. You know I'm going to be covering SpaceX on my YouTube channel, on my X account. Go give me a follow. I'm working on my Tesla book. That's going to be crazy. It's a book all about how investing in Tesla for the last 15 years. And then there's going to be a SpaceX book too. That's going to be even crazier. But let's get to that later. Okay, we're at the revenue. We just got to the what? Okay, let's go. This man. I'm a financial nerd. This is what I've been waiting on. Okay. Whoa. Okay, share count exploding. That's probably the XAI. They're using share counts for acquisitions. Let's just get to the revenue. 4.7 billion in the 3 months ending in March 2026. So basically, right at a $20 billion run rate right now. SpaceX before a lot of these AI deals kick in. They're losing a ton of money. 3 months ago in March, they were doing wow. So Q1 2025, they did $4 billion in revenue and only lost $500 million. Q1 2026, 4.7 billion revenue, barely more revenue, way more costs and expenses. We lost $2 billion. Wait, they were making a profit. Income from operations was positive. Wow, in 2024, they made $500 million in profit. SpaceX has actually been killing it, operationally insanely efficient, not losing any money really until this quarter. So we've entered a totally new period. It's crazy how fast this is changing and how SpaceX, what it was, is not what it is, and just the rate at which all of this is moving right now. I mean, SpaceX, a couple years ago, this would have been a strong growth rate. We're looking at 2023, 2.3 billion, 2024, 14 billion, 2025, $18.7 billion in revenue. So, I mean, this year, like I said, they were probably going to hit 25, 30 billion without this XAI thing, but I think they're going to hit 40 to 50 billion in revenue this year. No, that's too much. That's too much. Because it's going to take time to ramp. So, but SpaceX could hit 30 billion in revenue this year, up from 18 billion. I mean, that is still, to justify a $2 trillion market cap for 30 billion in revenue this year, that is losing a ton of money on margin. I mean, what do y'all think about this? Is this a rational valuation? Is this too high? Is this the Elon premium? Is this time really different with SpaceX? Because I mean, I'm looking at these numbers and the growth rate, I mean, compared to what Anthropic is doing, is nothing. That's why it's so interesting they're partnering with Anthropic and Cursor, because that is really unleashing the full value of SpaceX, letting them monetize their assets in a totally new way. Okay, let's see if they're gonna break this down a little bit more. Ooh, capital expenditures. So the AI business is what's burning them. Connectivity here with Starlink, very predictable, linear, consistent CapEx, 2.5 billion, 3.5 billion, 4.5 billion. Remember, they made over 4 billion in profits last year from Starlink. So Starlink is basically every dollar they make in profit, they're pouring into CapEx to launch more Starlink. So Starlink is its own beautiful, self-fulfilling, self-funding flywheel right now, is what I'm reading from this. Operating activities, it's kind of like Tesla, very profitable company. Now, if you look at the net cash by operations by year, SpaceX has been killing it. 4.5 billion in cash produced in 2023, then 6 billion, then 7 billion, 1 billion in free cash flow this quarter, but 16 billion in CapEx in Q1. What? That's even more than I thought. So you can't fund 16 or 17 billion a quarter in expenses with only 1 billion a quarter in cash flow. So that's why you're looking at insane amounts of, I mean, that's crazy. I guess they're only doing 10 billion in CapEx a quarter. There's some discrepancy in the numbers here, but either way you slice it, $1 billion in cash flow is not going to fund 10 billion in CapEx a quarter. That's why they're IPOing. They need the funding. There's going to be a massive spending wave, and who knows when it stops. I mean, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, OpenAI, Anthropic are all buying compute. They're all spending all their CapEx. They're going cash flow neutral. They're spending every dollar they have. Their balance sheets are changing. How long does that continue? Do they go into debt spending on compute? I mean, this could get crazy. So in some ways, it's genius that SpaceX, I mean, their ability to just rent out 1.25 billion a month to Anthropic, that's basically 1.25 billion a month, 15 billion a year in CapEx that they just figured out funding for. So very smart move from SpaceX, or strategic move. 15 billion in cash, 16 billion in cash at the end of March. They're going to get 70 billion. Oh, this is cool. We've got some KPIs. This is the good stuff, folks. Okay, this is exciting. Mass to orbit. Wow. 2.2 million metric tons or something. 2,200 metric tons. Anyway, steadily increasing mass to orbit every single quarter. Launches going up every single year. 170 launches last year. Super cool stuff. Now, Starlink subscribers, 5 million a year ago in Q1, 10 million now. Average revenue per user plummeting from $86 to $66 there. But that's to be expected. I'm expecting that to stabilize a little bit. That's why the growth rate has been, in terms of revenue, has been a little bit lower for Starlink. They're adding lower monetization customers, although I think the Starlink mobile thing is going to change all of that. But once again, here's the profitability of Starlink. This is the number. I mean, we have been waiting for all of these numbers for years, speculating like this is crazy to see. This is why Starlink was almost going to IPO by itself. I mean, a business that was doing $2 billion in profit, then $4.5 billion in profit, then probably this year $8 billion in profit from operations just from Starlink alone. No wonder they thought this could IPO for $100 billion. I mean, Starlink alone will probably be worth hundreds of billions if it just IPO'd, which is crazy. So a lot of this value from SpaceX isn't the launches. It's Starlink right now. AI in the future is essentially what I'm reading. Risk factors. Wow, this is a cool picture. So there's going to be a lot of juicy details in the risk factors section here, but they're going to go into it in excruciating, step-by-step detail, saying what could go wrong. Rocket could go up. Nobody could buy our stuff. Everything could go wrong. Wow. So, and it could be interesting. Should I dump this into AI? Wow. I think I'm gonna have to ask Grok. Ooh, some debt charts here. Now we're getting into the complicated stuff. Who owns it? That could be interesting. Ooh, financial results. Moving faster. XAI is moving faster. So there's a lot of people who are wondering about XAI's position in the AI race. I think this cursor move has been respected, been a superpower move. But at the same time, that cursor move acknowledged they were behind Anthropic and OpenAI. So a lot of people, in the mainstream are questioning, can Grok keep up? Can XAI really become a frontier lab? It's already kind of, it got bought by SpaceX for $250 billion. Was that an overpay? I would argue not, based on this, Anthropic deal that just got signed. That's going to pay for the whole thing. $13 billion a year in profit, $250 billion, not bad for that. But I don't know. I do think XAI is hiring amazing people. They're moving insanely quickly, but they are behind. What will their niche be? Will they be able to catch up in coding? Will it be orchestration? Will it be token optimization? They're partnering deep with Anthropic right now. Do they merge with Anthropic? I think everything's on the table for Elon to figure out how XAI can win. And they're trying to, losing my voice. But they want to make the case that they are moving so much faster than everyone else that is why. Ooh. This is in many ways what you're investing in if you're buying SpaceX. Because this is what's going to make them enough money to finally justify their valuation. I mean, $30 billion for $2 trillion is insane. Highest IPO valuation, biggest IPO ever. I mean, we're shattering all kinds of records, and it's all for this. The lunar mass driver. This thing will be able to shoot so many data centers, so much compute to space. This is going to change the game. This will take SpaceX. And remember when I said the moon, going to the moon, they mentioned that earlier in the filing. That's a huge, huge deal. And the reason why is because this will enable them to launch satellites cheaper than anyone, massive computers in space. This will be the $28 trillion market. This is how they become a $100 trillion company. This is how you make 10, 20, 30 times your money on SpaceX, is if this future on the moon happens. Okay, now I'm going to plug into Grok. Let's see if there's any. Ooh. They're getting deep into all this stuff from SpaceX here. This is crazy. There is so much history here. And oh, wow, this chart is cool. So this is really the timeline of everything SpaceX has done since founding, adding in connectivity, Starlink, and XAI here. Crazy. The amount, and they're really pitching this mass to orbit metric which I think is very interesting because it shows you how focused SpaceX is on like moving the economy and industry to space. Data centers in space is a pump strategy. I love that people still think that. It's not. I'm telling you, data centers in space are real. StarCloud has already done it. Okay. I mean, look at all this. This is super cool. Wow. They put out the repeatable business model. This is like the SpaceX secret sauce here. Wow. And this is what they've done over and over again that I think is what makes SpaceX so freaking hard to compete with, because they launch things better than anyone else. And once you have the best launch thing, you can figure out who's paying you to launch. Why are people paying us to launch? What business are they doing? Could we do that better? What happens next? They realize people are launching satellites. They figure out we could do better satellites. We could build Starlink. They stumble into this $1 trillion opportunity on this couple $1 billion of launch business. And it's what Wall Street can't put in their spreadsheet. This is going to be a theme with every Elon Musk company that you see over and over again. You can't put him in the spreadsheet what he's going to invent next. So it's impossible to put a net present value and cash flow on that from Wall Street's perspective. And so that's happened with the data centers in space. He saw like StarCloud launch the first NVIDIA into space, crush it, do it successfully on a SpaceX rocket. The StarCloud CEO is out there saying he's going to buy more NVIDIA chips than anyone else. He's going to be the world's biggest business. Elon says, wait, what? Actually, if everyone's going to make all this money launching data centers in space on our rockets, why don't we just launch data centers in space on our rockets? We've stumbled into another $1 trillion market. That's going to keep happening. It's not just Starlink and data centers in space. There's going to be more. It could be, I see the second they put in asteroid mining there, the second all these companies start doing all this asteroid mining, SpaceX is going to be looking into it and saying, okay, now the time is right to get into asteroid mining. So that is why this asset is so strategic. And at $2 trillion, it looks expensive, but I'm telling you right now, not financial advice always, but if I actually get my SpaceX shares for my investment, I'm gonna have to sell a little bit because I took a loan out to get them and blah blah blah. I gotta pay for stuff. I'm not making that much money on my live stream, right? You could see how many people are on. But actually, though, I'm gonna sell as little bit of SpaceX as I can. Literally just like the easiest weensiest bit, because I am holding this and I'm putting this on the live stream right now. So in 30 years, I can look back and watch this and be like, yep. The day SpaceX filed its IPO filing, I was already saying how I was going to hodl and I wasn't going to sell. So I'm trying to hold on to every possible share I have because I think SpaceX is going to do it. I think it's easy to say this is overvalued. It's easy to dismiss this as blah, 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 Elon hype. It's hard to look at the technology, put your money where your mouth is, wait it out, wait for the thesis to play out. And so I don't know. I'm just putting out there that I am holding, and I think as much as this is ridiculous, $2 trillion for a $30 billion company, I think in the long run, SpaceX will deliver on that valuation because of this repeatable business model they have. And the financials are such a bad picture of the value of this company. There's so much technology they are sitting on that is priceless. I mean, you think about the satellite internet communication that the military, that governments use. I mean, the ability to launch stuff into space, what that implications that has for defense, for connectivity, for now compute, which is the backbone of all AI in the economy. I mean, SpaceX is arguably, probably obviously, the most valuable and important asset in humanity right now, other than maybe governments. But SpaceX in many ways develops technology that governments can't. So I would say it's more powerful than governments in some way. So it's hard to fathom. I haven't ever seen a company this impactful IPO at this high of a valuation, with this high of an intangible premium, with this much of a gutsy future. I mean, it feels like we're living in a movie. Like they're trying to build this crazy thing on the moon. Like what the hell? It's crazy. So that's actually what I'm investing in. I am literally holding my SpaceX stock because I do think they will go to the moon. I do think they will build this thing and it's going to make them a ton of money, being the backbone of AI. Crazy. No, who saw SpaceX being the AI company? Who knows what else they're going to stumble into? So here we got more of the financials. Wait, I'm going to ask Grok right now. Prompting. Hold on. Okay, I did a mediocre prompt here. Basically just trying to get Grok to tell us if there's anything from the S1 that we missed here. Yeah. See, the revenue growth was slow. I got to be honest. A lot slower than expected, but that's why it's going to be so fun because we are going to watch this thing go. I mean, 4.7 billion last quarter. You got the Anthropic, you got the Cursor, you got Starlink pumping. We could be 5.5 billion next quarter, then 7 billion, then 10 billion. I mean, it's going to get crazy quickly. Very high revenue multiples, what Grok's saying, of course. Lot of defense contracts, as I was saying. Starshield, NASA Artemis, 22 billion in federal contracts. I mean, that is a lot of money. So that's a lot of it for the moon base, for satellite communications. So very interesting thing. You got Elon Musk doing basically dual class voting structure, having essentially a dictatorship control over SpaceX, which you can beef with or not and not own the stock. I personally think it's good. Because of the mission so long term, but that is going to be something that a lot of people are analyzing. But once again, this isn't weird. Google has a dual class, Snapchat, Facebook, a ton of companies have this dual voting class structure. So, and it's kind of bit them in the ass that Tesla hasn't had it. So that's why they're obviously doing that. And this actual reason right here is the main reason why I think that Elon is going to have SpaceX buy Tesla, not the other way around, because he has control of SpaceX. So if SpaceX buys Tesla, he controls Tesla. If Tesla buys SpaceX, he just gets, he becomes like just a shareholder essentially. So, honestly, not too much new from Grok that we missed. But let's keep scrolling a little bit here. They're not going to say too much about future growth. This is all kind of forward looking. And I guess what's fun now is we're going to get to see this updated. We're going to see the Q2 report coming out in a couple months, and just see this growth strategy continue here. Ooh, here we go. Here, mass to orbit. Consistent. More and more people going to space. We got the launches going up. Starlink subscribers. I mean, this is going crazy. It was slowing down a little bit here. So I wonder if that's a capacity, if that's a demand. What do we do with price there? It's going to be very interesting to see because I feel like here's the Starlink average revenue per user going down, but interesting. So this is a metric that I'm not really fully understanding, but it's basically talking about how much compute. We use this metric to assess our ability to deploy and scale compute capacity. I'm going to have to look into this. Nameplate compute draw in gigawatts, 0.8 gigawatts in 2025, up from 0.3. In Q1 2026, it was 1.0. That's as much as in all of 2025, more than in all of 2025 was just in Q1. So they're deploying insane amounts of compute. Where is that going, honestly? I guess they're selling it to Cursor and Anthropic, but I'm like, where is all this compute going? Grok's not getting that much better. Tesla FSD's been on this linear slope. I guess it wouldn't be Tesla. Where are they? I guess it's just Colossus. So I mean, I'm kind of wrapping up the stream here as I lose my voice. Let's see if you have any questions. But I mean, the big news here from SpaceX's IPO is SpaceX is, I guess what we kind of knew, $20 billion business with Starlink and launches growing very steadily, 40, 50% a year. But then we have this X factor. SpaceX is now fully pivoting into the compute company. That's why their enterprise market of 28 trillion is their biggest TAM. I mean, we are witnessing in real time, SpaceX is going to transition from most of its revenue being launches and connectivity to AI in the next few quarters. And it's fascinating to me because I think Elon, to make this sexy enough for Wall Street, to get the story there, in some ways, he needed to create a faster revenue growth rate. Here, let's get back to the revenue here, because I think this kind of just sums up the whole story here as I wrap things up. But the revenue of SpaceX, let's see, was this risk factors? See, look how long this filing is. There is so much information. You're going to see for weeks that there's going to be pouring out more and more articles. I mean, it's going to take time to actually analyze all of this and kind of understand all of the metrics that SpaceX has put out. This is literally everything about their business here. Okay, so we can get here's the overall revenue. So this is the numbers right here. SpaceX is now 4.7 billion, loss of 2 billion plus a ton of capex. The growth rate from Q1 2025 is 15. Am I getting that right? No way. See, SpaceX was not growing fast. I think I'm just triple checking for fun here. 15% year-over-year growth in Q1. 15%. I mean, that's not going to cut it for these AI companies. How are you only growing 15%? These are the two numbers I just contrasted. In Q1, they only grew 15% year over year. So SpaceX needs to accelerate their growth rate if they're going to stay at 2 trillion. I think they have to backfill into their valuation and hit 100 billion in revenue soon, or the market's going to start to lose patience. I don't know. And there's a lot up in the air because SpaceX is so unique. I can't stress that enough. This is such a unique asset that I think having that ability to think long term, not getting bogged down in the quarterly numbers, just hodling for 5 or 10 years, that's what I want to do at least. That is going to be the best move because it's going to be so easy to get lost in the sauce here. But I do, as much as I think SpaceX deserves this insane premium and valuation, there's part of me that is just like, this is crazy. Literally over 100 times revenue last year, growing at 40%, and in the quarter, growth slowing to 15%. So you're not betting on these financials, but what is going to be fun is this growth rate is going to turbocharge. It's going to be fun to see how fast this growth rate just accelerates. I think they're probably already at a 5 billion. How much of this is Cursor revenue? How much of this is Anthropic revenue? Probably like none of this. This doesn't include any Cursor revenue, any Anthropic revenue. So now we're just going to, and this could be lumpy. Maybe they had big launches in Q1 last year, not in Q1 this year. So that's hurting the growth rate. But this is going to be fun to watch. But at the same time, I think SpaceX has to hit 10 billion in revenue, 20 billion in revenue, like quickly per quarter to get to that, 25 billion a quarter, 100 billion a year mark to start to be a reasonably valued company. I mean, Anthropic is raising at $1 trillion, but they're doing 50 billion a year in revenue. That's 20x revenue. And they're growing 10x a year. So how do you grow 15%, but you're 100x? Like, you're way more expensive than Anthropic on a price revenue basis for way slower growth. So I think it's going to be very interesting to watch this play out, and it's going to be extremely volatile. And there's in the data centers in space business, which is that 28 trillion of market cap that they're trying to attack here, is going to take so long for them to actually do this. Maybe they can keep building compute infrastructure, renting out Colossus to Anthropic, which looks good in the short term, but I don't know, is that really what we're buying SpaceX for, to rent out their compute? No, we're buying it for something bigger. So it's just going to be super interesting to see, and the data centers and space thing, back to that's going to take a solid, 4 years, 3-4 years. Even Jeff Bezos was saying data centers in space are going to crush it, but it's going to take 3 to 4 years for those to actually really, materialize as a big piece of the economy. It's making big revenue and all that stuff. So in the meantime, I mean, SpaceX might have to raise more money. Like, Starlink is going to make, 10, 15, 20 billion a year, but that's not their ambition. Their ambition is to spend 50, 75, 100, 200 billion a year. So SpaceX is going to raise 60, 70, 100 billion in this IPO. I think they're going to need to raise another 100 billion soon. So they need to are incentivized to keep this equity price high, because this is their ATM. If they want to keep getting these cheap dollars, they need to have the valuation high. I think SpaceX is going to need to keep it at 2 trillion or so they can sell another 5% of the company and raise another 100 billion without diluting too much. Although Elon has full control no matter what, so that gives you a little bit of cushion there. But I don't know. Just it's the scope of what SpaceX wants to spend on. I think they're going to evaporate money. I mean, 10 billion a quarter on capex is insane. So, I'm trying to think about my perspective as a Tesla shareholder here. What about the Tesla merger? Because now it's like, okay, Tesla's already at 100 billion in revenue and like ramping up from 100 billion. It's going to take SpaceX so long to hit 100 billion in revenue unless this AI stuff really takes off the next year or two. But even then, it's hard for them to hit 100 billion. But maybe you're saying SpaceX is higher margin revenue, so therefore they deserve, and they have, their launch business is so hard to replicate. That competitive advantage is worth the higher multiple. So, we're giving SpaceX benefit of the doubt there. But even so, for Tesla to be worth 1.5 trillion, but SpaceX to be worth 2 trillion, when the financials are almost inverse of how that, I just think maybe there's a little bit of IPO special sauce. There's a little bit of hype, but it seems like SpaceX is overvalued relative to Tesla right now based on the 2 trillion, 1.5 trillion number I'm seeing. So I think that would make it hard to get a merger vote passed personally. Because Tesla shareholders not going to want to give up all their growth and upside and then be diluted with SpaceX stock at 100 times sales growing at 15%. So I think that's going to make the merger logistically difficult. So will Elon, will he reward the early Tesla shareholders as he's been saying and give them access to this somehow? I don't know. I feel like Tesla's going to win. I mean, Tesla's already winning because XAI is buying a ton of mega packs. They're doing all this business together. So there's already a layer to which Tesla and SpaceX are working together, benefiting. But I don't know. I'm kind of curious what y'all think. Like, are we thinking this is gonna? Let me see if I've got any DMs or anything. But I don't know. I don't think the Tesla shareholders are gonna want to vote for the merger. I think they're gonna feel like they missed out and they're gonna feel like they're overpaying right now. So I'm very curious to know what the strategy is of actually getting that all done. Any other things that I missed in the IPO filing? I mean, no way this company is worth 2 trillion. That's what people are saying in the comments. That's funny. Look, let's see if we can find any more juicy tidbits here. Let's see if we can find Cursor. This is when it starts to get fun. You got to do the Apple F. I've heard that they are going to go through and acquire Cursor. That's already kind of a done deal. 30 days after the IPO, they're going to go through and acquire the $60 billion acquisition price, which is crazy when you think about it because they're using stock that is worth 100 times sales to buy something at 20 times sales, growing way faster. So insanely accretive share swap move by SpaceX to buy Cursor. Like at first, the 60 billion number sounds like a lot, but when you realize it's stock at the high, when it's freely traded, it could be 4 trillion stock at the high. I mean, it's on the trading days to the closing of the acquisition, 30 days out from the IPO. Elon has timed this. I don't even know if Cursor or other lawyers look at this because this is genius the way Elon has framed this. I mean, SpaceX is going to pop on the IPO. They're going to announce they want to buy Cursor. They're going to take the 7-day average weighted trading price of that extremely high SpaceX stock, gives Cursor 60 billion at that price. They're going to dilute like 3% of the company to buy Cursor and increase their revenue 15%. It's insanely accretive genius move here. Cursor, 3.1 billion of assets, 3 billion in cash. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out Cursor's revenue run rate. Did they disclose that in here? April 19th. Wow. So that, yeah. So none of the Cursor and Anthropic numbers are in this, are in the Q1 financials. Okay, I'm not finding the Cursor revenue. Let's see Anthropic. 1.25 billion. This I think is the biggest news to drop from the IPO. We got SpaceX's actual revenue of 4.7 billion a quarter, but 1.25 billion a month. Anthropic is paying SpaceX every month. This is a huge business that SpaceX just unlocked. This literally doubles their entire revenue overnight. So I'm really excited because I think me talking all this talk about, oh, SpaceX better put up the growth to justify the valuation. Like, I think they are this close to, they're doing it. It's going to be fun to watch. 4.7 billion in a quarter is going to look like a joke to what SpaceX is about to do. That's my theory. I mean, at least, like, I think 1.25 billion a month, that's 4 billion a quarter. They just did 4.7 billion a quarter in all their revenue. So Anthropic, and it's going to ramp up, and it's through 2029. What? So I think SpaceX next quarter is going to go from 4.7 billion to 6 billion, let's call it. Then they're going to go to 8 billion, 9 billion. So we are going to get, so on one hand, it's easy to say it's at 100 times revenue, but on the other hand, if you zoom out 6 months from now, 2 quarters from now, it's at 50 times revenue. But then I think that's where I think you're losing me a little bit on the growth projections, because it's like, okay, is Anthropic going to order more? Is this growth, or is just 1.25 billion per quarter forever? Cursor's booming, but how much growth is Cursor going to keep up its secret sauce in Magic to be able to grow market share? Still compete and win? I don't know enough. The asteroid mining is crazy. Someone commented asteroid mining. I like that. 33 billion revenue run rate by end of year with Cursor and Anthropic. That sounds about right. So I am a little bit concerned about the Starlink business, though. I feel like that is right. Like, Starlink business only doing 40% growth or something seemed a little bit too low. So I wonder what the next shoe to drop for Starlink is. Do they have an ability to launch Starlink Mobile? Will that, let's see, Starlink Mobile, will that significantly accelerate the growth? Here's Starlink Mobile. So I heard there's some rumor about Starlink being in the new iPhone. 10.3 million subscribers is low, especially with ARPUs dropping, growth rate dropping. So Starlink is growing under 100% right now. They need some sort of X factor to turbocharge that up. I mean, there is so many freaking moving, and then you have X that's owned by Elon. I mean, the amount of moving pieces here on this IPO is unheard of. It's hard to even fathom. No Starlink enterprise customers contribute more than $750K revenue. Wow. Has voluntarily. Wow. So they're basically saying the churn, no one ever cancels Starlink once they're on it. So the cash, I mean, that's a whole nother reason SpaceX is so strategic. Starlink doing $5 billion in profit per year, growing at a fast clip. That's almost irreplaceable, uncancelable. Like, that's just such a premium asset to own. I guess the one thing I'm kind of curious about is, when does the data centers in space actually happen? We expect to continue expand our terrestrial data centers and to launch orbital data centers and multi-year investment for the AI segment. Yep. So here's back to the CapEx chart based on the lines of business. I should probably keep this up. This is a good one. 10.1 billion in CapEx, 7.7 billion of it is AI. Like, crazy. Let's see what they say about it. Rapid expansion of terrestrial data centers. Developing Starship, key part of performance. 100 metric tons for V3 Starship, then 200 metric tons for V4 Starship. Wow, doubling cargo capacity. Scheduled 12th Starship test coming up next week. I'm not seeing much about orbital data centers and when they're actually planning on launching those, because I think that is a very key thing. When do they actually get into launching data centers in space? When does that become a new piece of the business? Or like they said in the S-1 IPO filing here, are they continuing to build terrestrial data centers like Colossus and rent those out to, I mean, that's the flip side, is you had them rent out this compute capacity to Anthropic from Colossus so fast. And they built this. Uh-oh, did my camera just die? Uh-oh. Sorry, guys. I have to switch to my MacBook camera. Sorry about that. Good cameras died. Wow, that's how you know the stream is ripping right now. Let's go. All right, well, we're going to keep it going for a sec. Ooh, wait. And then that's where it was. As early as, damn, we got a new piece of news in the filing. This is why you got to spend you got to be looking at the IPO S1 filing all night long. You just got to be chilling on this, because this has got all the juicy details. And it's you'll find these little tidbits of gold scattered in it. 2028 is when they're deploying the early as 2028. So they're saying it's going to take at least 2 years before the orbital data centers become a thing. So I was kind of expecting them, and maybe they're waiting for Starship to get better, but I was kind of expecting them to go a little bit faster with the orbital data centers personally. But I mean, that's going to take a while. It's going to take a while to launch those. But I think, if we extrapolate the demand for compute, I don't know. I was kind of hoping they would throw up a data center. StarCloud, shout out to StarCloud. They're launching their second data center in space on a SpaceX rocket in January, I believe. So early 2027, that'll be their second one. So I thought SpaceX would be moving much faster for its data centers in space. But apparently it's going to take another year and a half at least for them to fully launch that. Timelines are taking some getting used, or Elon time takes some getting used to. Oh, Starship launches tomorrow, not next week. Good point. Did I say that wrong? Interesting. We got a hater in the comments who's just like, this is hella funny. There's going to be, that's another funny thing to consider, is the amount of like haters and skepticism that is going to come, and articles about SpaceX is going to be insane. Get ready for a flood of media like we have never seen before, talking about, Elon Musk self-dealing this, SpaceX is collapsing, their technology is not developing. I think if you've been a Tesla shareholder, then maybe you're a little bit used to all of the bad news and headlines that comes with holding a stock for 10 years that's this volatile, it's this crazy. But SpaceX is going to be no different. And I promise y'all, this is going to be a huge thing. It's going to be really hard to hold SpaceX stock when politicians are hating on it, governments are beefing with it. There's going to be rocket launches that fail. There's going to be articles by smart Wall Street people saying that SpaceX is failing. There is going to be so much media and content. It's going to get so many clicks to say that SpaceX is failing that's going to be the hardest part about this whole story. Is you want to hold for the mass drivers on the moon. This is going to be a roller coaster ride of proportions that we have not seen. Like, you thought Tesla was a crazy roller coaster ride of highly valued Elon drama nonstop. SpaceX is going to be even more than that exponential drama. So get ready for it. We are just kicking off the drama like right now. The amount of, in the next week, articles that are going to come out from this S1 filing is going to be crazy. So is there any other big juicy details that I've missed? I think the biggest one is Anthropic's paying them $1.5 billion a month, $1.25 billion a month. Orbital data centers 2028, 15% revenue growth last quarter, about to accelerate like crazy. I mean, leave me in the comments. When do you think SpaceX hits 100 billion revenue run rate? Actually, should I rip that tweet right now? Maybe I should. Hold on. Okay. Let's see. I'm asking Grok right now. This is what I asked Grok. When does Grok think we're going to hit the 100 billion revenue run rate? But I want to see what y'all think. So SpaceX has actually potentially millions of satellites. This is crazy. Because we already know that SpaceX has essentially, I think they filed for a 1 million satellite constellation for data centers in space. 1 million satellites. That would be the biggest ever. StarCloud just did an 88,000 satellite constellation filing for their data centers in space. So the scope and scale of this, even though I guess it doesn't start till 2028, is insane. They're saying millions with an S of satellites for orbital data centers. I mean, the sky's going to get crowded. This is crazy. So, I mean, and Elon hasn't been able to talk about this as the IPO. It's like what they call like a quiet period. But I have so many questions for Elon Musk here. I think there's so much. Is it going to be a SpaceX investor day? Is it going to be Elon Musk? Are we going to get 2 quarterly calls now? We're going to get Elon talking about SpaceX on the SpaceX quarterly call and then Tesla on the Tesla quarterly call. I mean, there's so much. I have so many questions here. Like what is the vision with the cursor deal? What's the Anthropic future? Is that a one-off deal? Or are we actually providing compute cloud services like AWS now? Is that really a big piece of our business? Why is it taking till 2028 to launch the first data center in space? Can't we just put one on Starship and like test this thing ASAP? StarCloud's already launching it on SpaceX rockets. Or is it just not worth it and you want to wait until maybe they're still developing their orbital data center program. What does the data center in space look like? What's the design? Cowboy Space is a new startup that just did this whole thing with the top part of the rocket is the radiator when it deploys. So maybe there's entirely new form factors for how these data centers in space happen. The human mind can't comprehend the vastness of space. Yeah. So anyone else got anything to say in the chat here? Scrolling, just seeing if I can find anything else. Oh, I found another tidbit. Uh-oh. We expect Starship to commence payload delivery to orbit in the second half of 2026. So that's the big thing. So everyone's wondering, when does Starship actually get into, function? When is it actually delivering payloads? When is it launching stuff? It looks like that's going to happen in the second half of this year to orbit. So a lot is riding on this launch test tomorrow. It's crazy how much is happening that there's this launch test tomorrow. So, that's another big milestone and stat here from the IPO fund that you're hearing breaking on HyperChane right now. We expect Starship to commence payload delivery to orbit in the second half of 2026. So Starship, and that's actually what's crazy, is even though it's not landing perfectly and a lot of the tests are messing up, what I'm hearing is it's basically already good enough to use to launch stuff. That's what they're telling you here. So get ready for more launches, Starship to actually happen later this year. New rocket launch. Wow. I can't believe there's a launch happening tomorrow. This is going to be so epic. This is going to be so epic. Okay, wait, hold on. I'm going to check. Let me check what Grok said real quick. Ooh, we've got, okay, Sawyer messaged me something on the live stream. He wants me to cover this. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay. Sawyer, let's go, Sawyer. SpaceX IPO filing has reveals a staggered insider share lockup structure instead of one giant lockup. Okay, this is what a lot of people want to know because supply and demand is going to dictate the share price. There's so many people that own SpaceX in layers and layers of SPVs. Some who don't even know if they own it at all, like me. So after Q2, 20% of eligible insiders shares unlock if the stock trades at 30% above the IPO price for 5 or 10 days. Another 10%. Additional 7% unlocks occur at 70, 90, 120, 35 days post IPO. After Q3 earnings, another 100. So 180 days, so a staggered 6-month lockup. So basically they're going to allow the shares to flood out, kind of dripping out consistently over the next 6 months. Very interesting move here. Elon Musk not part, so his shares are going to be locked up. So this is the actual data that we are seeing here with Sawyer's post. Interesting. So it sounds like there is a 60-day lockup. Most people are going to be subject to, but early shareholders, I guess, are going to get to sell some earlier. I think this is interesting. I actually think this is a super smart way to do it. I mean, it's such a huge IPO. There's so many layers of shares. There's going to be all these waves of different shares hitting the market, different people being forced to buy. So you're going to see this is going to be another reason the volatility is going to be crazy. 366-day lockup period described above. So some shares actually might be locked up earlier or longer than 180 days. So very interesting. So this sounds like for people like me who think they may have invested in SpaceX or SPVs, we're going to not get our shares right away. It's going to take some time, which is kind of what I was expecting. It's just going to slowly drip out the shares. I think it's a smart move to not have them hit all at once, kind of. And you have this sort of dichotomy of everyone rushing to buy, but then also the insiders selling. And hopefully that kind of balances out the share price and makes like a fair exchange of liquidity, essentially. So shout out to Sawyer. Let's see. People are DMing me other stuff. Let's go to this post by my guys. Only got 12 likes. This is under the radar by Vlad Saigu, who, if you are not following this guy about SpaceX, you are sleeping. You might be, because I already had him on HyperChane, but him and Aaron Burnett run Mach 33. Elon followed them recently as they worked with ARC Research on their collab. So these guys Elon has said they're like the best SpaceX analysts, honestly. So when you think of who you want to know, who understands SpaceX, go follow this guy, Vlad. Anyway, he just sent me this post, so I kind of like it. I think it's a little artsy. A Texas company has spent 24 years and $41 billion developing the only reusable fleet of rockets on the planet. Would now like the public to chip in. I mean, this is actually getting me juiced. It's pretty epic. The addressable market is the entire solar system. Reusable rockets turns out to be expensive. I'm obsessed with this. Pension funds across the United States will be shortly required for compliance purposes to have an opinion on Mars. Wow. SpaceX, XAI, S-1, and the voice of Douglas Adams. I love this. Dude, the amount of content we're about to get from the SpaceX IPO. Okay, I'm going back into my DMs. I'm seeing what people are sending me here. 266. Shout out to Vlad and Sawyer. Those are two must follows. Did Grok reply to me? I asked Grok something. No, Grok has not replied about when SpaceX would $100 billion in revenue. I have asked Grok. We have not seen a reply. So that's crazy. Okay. Well, all right, let's go back to the SpaceX S-1 filing, see if we got any more things to cover. Let me chime in on the comments here. Ooh, the dumb phone. So I'm I'm pumped. I think it's when's the actual IPO going to happen in a month. So I'm insanely pumped on this idea. Is there a phone? Let me look up if they're going to, because I still think that the Moonshot Monday I just put out, bro, you like, hold on. When you guys see the Moonshot, I mean, the Star phone, like, how are people not? I'm losing it at the Star phone. Like, to me, this is the number one thing that I would be working on if I was SpaceX. Like every, oh man. And this is why ChatGPT and Johnny Ive are teaming up. This is why Tim Cook's beefing. It's because there's going to be a new device after the iPhone. I'm telling you. And we could be all waiting to get Neuralinks, but I think that's ridiculous. And so they are sitting on the satellite network. They're going to be making the chips. Elon owns Grok. He wants to get more people using Grok. Right now, we all interact with Grok through our phone. I mean, this is barbaric. Apple is dominating the AI industry because we all use our phone to do it, to use AI, to do the Grok app. So I think Elon making a simple phone that stops doom scrolling and has a Grok button, it has texting, calling, maps with Robotaxi, payments for X payments. How is the Star phone by SpaceX not a thing? How are they not going to launch this thing? At first, I thought this is a ridiculous moonshot that I've been hearing everyone talk about, but the more and more I think about it, I am so convinced that SpaceX should be launching their own phone, especially, and it's not like I don't know. I just think it's strategic beyond like pumping the stock or helping, blah, blah, blah. I just think it's super strategic to have a consumer hardware device that owns the interaction with AI. And that I think is the biggest gap in everyone's business model. And that's the biggest, my moonshot prediction is you're going to see every AI company here, Anthropic, ChatGPT, Google, Amazon, what should be SpaceX, push into this consumer market. Now, you could say that Optimus is a replacement for the Star phone because we'll just talk to our Optimus computers and that's how we interface with technology and artificial intelligence. Maybe, but it still feels like there's room for this device. So I'm kind of curious what y'all think, but that's one thing I didn't see in the S-1 filing that I think should be happening is the Grok phone. So I missed a lot what's been going on. SpaceX has filed the IPO filing. That's what's going on. And we are going through the SpaceX S-1 filing because this is history in the making right now. They're going to be studying this. They're going to be scheming. Okay. Browsing here. See if we got any more things. Is there any other things I missed here? I'm going to read in the comment section. A merger. We have no details on the whether Tesla will merge or not with SpaceX. That is still totally up in the air. No mention of that. Should I search Tesla just to see for fun? What did they mention Tesla even? Tesla framework on the TerraFab. So there's TerraFab getting a shout out here. Together with Tesla, we are developing MacroHard. Another tidbit of information breaking here on HyperChane. Tesla is officially working on the MacroHard project as well as SpaceX. So that's official. And I think these little clues to me signal that Tesla and SpaceX will actually merge because you're seeing TerraFab, Tesla and SpaceX. MacroHard, Tesla and SpaceX. Those are the two biggest projects right now. Enterprise software, 28 trillion, 22 trillion of TAM. The biggest projects that Tesla and SpaceX are doing are collabs. You talk about SpaceX's big thing of lunar, let's go back to that thing we're still doing Tesla, but then I want to get to the other businesses SpaceX is doing, like asteroid mining, like building stuff on the moon, because those are all going to require Optimus, I think. And so there's so many layers of partnership here that I'm getting more convinced reading this that the merger is going to go through, honestly. See, goal with Tesla, TerraFab, official agreement. Risk factors here. They are in a relationship with Tesla or strategic collaboration. They need to continue that. Mr. Musk serves as techno king and CEO of Tesla. That's funny. Neuralink and the Boring Company, not part of either acquisition or merger talk yet. Very interesting, but mentioned here in the S1. Collaboration with Tesla. Here's a whole part on it. Wow, this is interesting. So we've got the lawyers spelling out the Tesla SpaceX relationship here. Interesting. We plan to explore other areas of strategic collaboration with Tesla in the future. I mean, is this them spelling out the merger talk, or am I tripping on that? I feel like this could be them spelling out the merger talk, right? Or saying that they want to do the merger, right? No? What do y'all think? Put it in the comments. Would you be happy if Tesla and SpaceX merged? Because I'm actually genuinely curious. I already said this on live stream, but I'll repeat that I have a little of both stock, at least I think. So that's why I'm maybe not the best to ask, because I'm going to be honest. If I was just owning Tesla, I would have FOMO. I would have huge FOMO. But I'd also be looking at this like, we're not going to merge with SpaceX. They have way too high of a valuation for us to pay $2 trillion for this. If it was $1 trillion, maybe, but I don't know. So this is very interesting. Breaking news on HyperChane here. Plan to explore other areas of strategic collaboration with Tesla. So there you have it, folks. I think it's going to happen. Ooh, here it says the officers of SpaceX. Gwen Shotwell, the president of SpaceX, legend in the industry. Ooh, Ira, he is a board member of Tesla as well. OG legend. Gracias. He also member of the Tesla board. Legendary VC investor for Valor Equity, who's been an early SpaceX and Tesla employee or investor. Sorry, he's actually an insanely legendary VC. This is just a stacked board of directors. Steve Jurvetson, super into space, OG, Elon and Tesla and SpaceX VC, also legendary in his own right. So I probably should know these other guys. Luke Nosek, I think he's GigaFund, huge VC into SpaceX. So a lot of the early investors, schemers. Donald Harrison, never heard of him. I guess we got the bios of all these guys, which is pretty cool. Musk. Randy Glein, never heard of him. Oh, he Draper Fisher Jurvetson, which is also Steve Jurvetson. So he's another VC. It looks like Donald Harrison on the board since 2015. VP at Google, lawyer. It looks like good to have. There's Jurvetson, Luke Nosek, founder of GigaFund. That's right. Interesting. Ooh, Twitter. Okay, I want to go to the top, though, because there's the part where SpaceX announces the new businesses it's getting into. And I think this is the part that is the most interesting of the filing that I want to end on here, because this is what, this is all in the rear view mirror. We're looking at stuff here. Anyone know what page that's on? I'm scrolling. It said, I know we're looking for asteroid mining. It said asteroid mining. Oh, here we go. Our growth strategies is my favorite part. Lunar economy. That's going to be crazy. Should I ask Grok? What this means? speculating here with Grok on what SpaceX means by establishing the lunar economy in the S-1 filing. Whoa. Near term, pre-built modules, power systems, small bases using landed starships, revenue from transport, 2030s semi-permanent outposts, robots, satellites, mass driver prototypes. Whoa. Tourism, sciences, side revenue, local materials to build more infrastructure, longer term, industrial scale factories on the moon, thousands of tons of satellites a year for orbital data centers, export resources and materials to Earth or orbit or Mars missions, lunar economy. Wow. Conservative views, cumulative 170 billion over 20 years to 2040, dominated by transportation then resources, annual services in the 8 to 10 billion dollar range for the moon, optimistic, SpaceX aligned, much bigger, 26 billion AI TAM, multi-hundred billion to trillion dollar scale enabler for broader space economy. Wow. That is super duper exciting. So, manufacturing on the moon, energy production on the moon. Wow. So the moon is I feel like the amount of secrets and scheme, like SpaceX didn't really tell us anything in this IPO fund, barely anything. 2028 orbital data centers, they gave us the financials, but we're not getting much of the schemes. They must be sitting on some crazy stuff. At least that's my guess. Wait, what the hell is this? Is this the phone? Did I just stumble on the phone they're going to launch? Launch digital human augmentation? What the hell? We got to ask Grok what that means. Launch digital human augmentation? Is that Neuralink? Is that a hardware device, a phone like Grok? Macro Hard, which would be a platform to emulate digital workforce, talking digital Optimus. I guess that would be a little less exciting. Near-term products of what they plan, advanced AI coding assistants, Grok or cursor-like tools, augmentation focus rather than replace humans, boost humans' productivity. This could include brain-computer interfaces like Neuralink. Wow. A purely AI software company in the long term. I mean, there's a lot of, this is my favorite page of the IPO here. What page? 10 of the growth strategies filing and the market opportunity. Ooh, there's probably a lot in the market opportunity here in AI. Interesting. So, I guess these are growth strategies. So this is what they already have going. Future markets is when things get crazy. And they mentioned the moon and Mars 3 times in all of these. That's a lot. Passenger cargo transport to the moon and Mars, energy production on the moon and Mars, manufacturing capabilities on the moon and Mars. Like the moon, the space economy is just getting going. Point-to-point terrestrial travel, I think a lot of people gave up on that. The huge rockets bringing us around Earth in 30 minutes. But they're putting that in there. Space tourism, in-orbit manufacturing, in addition to manufacturing on the moon. And then asteroid mining. So I'm kind of trying to think about this as in the buckets of like, okay, we got SpaceX doing Starlink connectivity, data centers in space. What's the next big market that hits space? Is it asteroid mining? Is it manufacturing? I think it could be space tourism. It could be either one of those, but none of these feel big enough like manufacturing and industry and asteroid mining. So, I mean, think about what would it even look like to have SpaceX do a rendering of some crazy asteroid mining device? Like, this is going to be insane. All right, now I'm tapping in. Let's see what kind of questions you guys. Elon new X post. Uh-oh. Methane mining from Uranus. Good comment. The future's so bright, Gally gotta wear shades. You know it. I was just going about my day having tea, low-key waiting for this filing to drop for like weeks. I was actually on the phone with my buddy Joe, and I was like, wait, the SpaceX filing is going to drop. I got to go. And so this is pretty epic, I got to say. Any other comments here on the future markets by SpaceX? I mean, I'm just getting pumped. All I'm going to say is I'm going to be covering this on HyperChane every quarter. We're only a month and 2 weeks away from the end of Q2. SpaceX is about to have a ton. Like, this is going to be so fun to cover and report every quarter. My projection, 4.7 billion in revenue in Q1. I think SpaceX only 15% growth from 4 billion in Q1 2025. That was the crazy number from this report too. But I personally think SpaceX probably does 6 billion in revenue next year. Wait, should I model that out? Should we do some modeling? Ooh. Okay, hold up. Let me fire up Google Drive here, because I'm just doing this. This isn't even like, oh, I'm doing modeling. Like, we're gonna talk about it. You know, I'm trying to make a fancy thing. I'm just gonna try and make this as simple as possible. These are the calculations I'm doing right now. Ooh, we're scheming. Took me a second to set it up, but we're scheming. Okay, let's get that revenue. Let's get all these revenue numbers. But yep, 4.694. So space segment 619 million in Q1. I'm going to give them the names that they do. Okay, and we're going to lump all the Cursor and Anthropic revenue here. So this is going to be the sum. And that's billion. Okie dokie. Now we're going to do, what are we looking at? Connectivity, 3.257 and 1.1 billion of earnings. Remember this Starlink cash cow, another big thing we learned here, 3.257. And then XAI, what were we looking at there? 818 million. And I'm pretty sure this, because it's ending March 31st, this has none of the Cursor revenue, none of the Anthropic revenue, but this does have X and XAI revenue and everything AI. So launch business has been pretty flat. Starlink's growing at 40%. AI revenue is going to take off. We have Cursor doing 1.25 billion a month. That's just ramping up, but slower in May and June. So expect that to fully ramp in Q3. Then we've got connectivity. I'm just going to put that 3.6. Let's just say slow and steady growth for Starlink. Let's say the launches go up a little bit, but launches are going to be kind of flat, honestly. Let's keep launch flat, actually. And then this is where we get, it could be $1 billion from Cursor. I'm going to say $1 billion from Cursor, initial deal, and Anthropic. Maybe that's too much. I mean, let's go with like 0.7. So that would be 1.518. Let's just call it 1.5. So interesting, 5.72. So now we're starting to get a ramp though, because then you're going to say, you know, the quarter over quarter growth rate. Well, eventually we'll get to year over year, and then we'll see what that is. Okie dokie. So I'm just trying to put a back of the napkin math model here to what SpaceX's revenue is based on the IPO. So these are the official numbers here. So I'm going to put this in a little box so everyone knows those are the official numbers. This is Galley's estimating. Based on this is, we got the big, you know, Cursor, Anthropic stepping in here. I think this goes, bam, even bigger step up. You know, and I'm still under. Anthropic alone could be doing 3.75 billion from this line by Q3, according to what they're saying. So, right? Like, right? 1.25 billion per month, ramping in May and June at a reduced fee. So that says in Q3, it's full fee, I guess. I don't know, but that's why I'm not assuming the full 1.25 billion a month. I'm assuming 700 million from Cursor and this deal. I don't know, but the numbers are almost too big and they get too crazy. So then, where was I? I want to get back to the Starlink revenue to really analyze that real quick, because %49.5% growth, I believe, is the right number on 11.4 billion in revenue last year for Starlink. 49 to 50% growth. So I want to continue it growing at that rate. I don't want it to grow that much. So, but even here, 5 over 3.275, I already have maybe that's too much growth for Starlink. I don't know. %53%. All right, that's still in line. So we'll give that for Starlink for the next quarters. Why does it say this? Oh, 6.5% growth. Then we'll do that. Okay, perfect. All right, now I'm just gonna fill this in, then we can play with it. Launch. Let's say it goes 0.62 and then 0.65 here. We'll up it next year, but launch is going to be kind of, I don't know. This could get a lot bigger, but I like to be conservative when I do my modeling. Always conservative. Let's say this keeps going up linearly, just slowing growth rate, $500 million a quarter. I don't know. I feel like Starlink isn't going to have this X factor growth unless there's some big direct to sell moment here. So this is the hard part to estimate here, the XAI and X revenue with Cursor. Does the Anthropic deal blow up in their face? Does Cursor take off? Does it not? Oof. Let's just say Anthropic is doing the 1.25 billion a month. Plus, I mean, this is still low. These numbers look low, if I'm being honest, based on Cursor and Anthropic, what they're doing. But this kind of assumes Anthropic slowly ramps up, tops out, then Cursor takes over the growth. I don't know. This could be way too low. But my point is here, I guess I kind of like that I made the estimates low, because now you're going to see, this is the quarter that was just reported. Now we're going to see $1 billion in increase in one quarter. Then it's going to start, then, 5.72 billion in Q2 revenue, 7.1 billion in Q3, 9.1 in Q4. We're exiting the year at almost a $40 billion run rate. We've doubled the revenue. We're growing 100%. Then we're accelerating to 150% year over year growth, 11 billion in Q1, then 14, then 16, then 20 billion. We exit around 2027 with 100 billion in revenue. So we're 18 months away from 100 billion in revenue, which would be 20x price sales at 2 trillion, which still seems crazy expensive, but this is so up in the air. So much could change here. None of this has anything to do with the moon base, has anything to do with data centers in space, has anything to do with the launch business increasing with Starship. That could be huge. So maybe here, let me do something. I'm make conservative and bullish. Okay, now I'm having fun with it and just kind of going a little crazier. But I think these are also realistic assumptions, all about that AI business. How fast does this AI business kick in? How much is Cursor really contributing? I mean, things could get wild quickly. I don't know. Am I being ridiculous here with the projections? If things start to go exponential with AI, you never know. Then they start growing at 262%, 200% growth year over year, where we could be exiting at $160, $170 billion run rate in 18 months from now. And we end Q4 this year at 50 billion instead of 40 billion. So, I mean, the growth that SpaceX is setting up for is insane right now. This is kind of what I'm projecting as the bands of conservative and, aggressive assumptions, I guess. I don't know. Let me check the comments, see what y'all are saying about this. Conservative. Everyone thinks it's too conservative, but I just put the bullish ones in there. So, yeah, this is going to be crazy. It's going to be fun to watch. I'm trying to figure out, I'm like, is this overvalued? I mean, when you put it like this, we're only, 18 months away, because once we're at 160 billion in revenue, growing 220% a year, and it looks like we're going to be at 300, 400, 500 billion in revenue quick, then 2 trillion looks cheap. So this is how you start to rationalize the investment. If the growth hits, and there's always the question of how long will the stock market essentially give you leeway to price out your growth? And now what I'm saying is, in a bullish scenario, SpaceX is 18 months away from justifying a $2 to $3 trillion valuation. So in that situation, it's like, oh, well, if I'm buying at 2 trillion and in a year and a half, it could be worth 3 trillion, that's 50% upside in a year and a half. That's 30% IRR. This is starting to make sense. So on one hand, I'm trying not to get too bogged down in the short-term financials, not trying to, put too much emphasis on quarterly this, quarterly that. But on the other hand, I'm trying to figure out, at what point do the numbers work out to justify the valuation? You got to know that. You can't just invest on vibes. There's got to be numbers. And so actually, me crunching the numbers of like, dude, first of all, this is not anywhere near enough that they're going to spend. SpaceX is going to be spending way more than this. So I think in this scenario, in the bearish scenario, conservative, they're still losing money at 20 billion in revenue based on their CapEx. They're already doing 10 billion in CapEx a quarter now. Bullish scenario, maybe they're starting to break even here at that 41 billion a quarter in revenue. Maybe they're even making a little profit. So I think that's another big, interesting kind of flywheel to consider. But I don't know. As I crunch these numbers, it's all about the AI division, because the space and connectivity of, Starlink, what we found out in this filing is growing under 50% and a little bit slower with momentum until some sort of big new deal or big new product or big new capability changes. Then Starlink is kind of it's not hitting that 100 billion in revenue as fast as we thought. You know what I'm saying? I got to say 3.3 billion in revenue for a quarter for Starlink, with 1 billion of it being over profits. The profitability is there, but the growth is not. So and then it's like, so then a lot of the growth comes from the AI thing. So it's like, did this cursor revenue, would we value that at here, let me add this in. So we're including all this AI revenue here. But you got to remember, and that's the other thing that's funny about this model is, even in Q4 2027, they're not launching their orbital computers till 2028. So this business that could justify the $2 trillion valuation, it's justifying the $2 trillion valuation before we even, hit their sort of pièce de résistance, what they've been leading up to, which is the data centers in space, the orbital data centers, why they're building the Terafab has nothing to contribute to this. It's taking too long. So, and then the other interesting thing is, at this point, Q4 2027, you have SpaceX surpassing Tesla in revenue. Even if Tesla's growing, I don't think they're going to be doing 41 billion a quarter by Q4 2027. So that's another interesting thing to consider when you're thinking about merger. If the merger takes a year, they're going to let the stocks float for a year, then they're going to combine. If they combine at a 50-50 merger in a year, my calculation's saying they're going to be doing very similar amounts of revenue, which would make the deal look very fair. And then you basically have $2 trillion companies both combining. Now the revenues, instead of 150 billion each, it's 300 billion. And you have a $4 trillion company doing 300 billion in revenue, which seems fair, especially because it's going to be growing super fast. So there's two big X factors that I'm going to be looking for in the SpaceX Q2 report that come out in a few months. I think the biggest thing is how much revenue is Cursor doing? Because that's going to turbocharge this 818 million AI segment. How fast is it growing? Are we fully acquiring Cursor? Because that's going to turbocharge our AI business. Is that really at a 3 billion revenue run rate right now that could start to explode? That's already 700 million a quarter. So then how much of this Anthropic OpenAI deal hits? Are we actually getting 1.25 billion a month in revenue from that? What's the margins on that revenue? Are we valuing this renting out Colossus at a premium? Maybe not, but maybe we are for the Cursor side of the revenue. So I think the big question on everyone's mind next quarter is this number right here. I think we're going to see, consistency out of the launch business, small, slow, steady growth from Starlink, strong numbers there. And then it's all the X factor is what's the AI revenue. And I think that's going to be the line item to watch going forward for SpaceX that all investors are going to be focused on is what's happening with that AI revenue. Is Grok taking off? Is Cursor? It's all in there. Anthropic, X, everything's in there. So, and it's starting off a low base at 818 million, very low base. So, 3.5 billion a year. So I think we could see just an insane turbocharge, essentially. Insane turbocharge in the AI revenue. So any more? Oh, we got some more comments. Sorry, forgot to read these. Creating a moon base is going to be expensive. I think that's why they're raising a ton of money. Anthropic expanding partnership with SpaceX with Colossus 2 Elon. All right, we got an Elon post. Okay, we're going to have to look at this. Hold on. Oh, this is very interesting. Elon Musk says recently expanded partnership with Anthropic demonstrates, which I think he's referring to this big 1.25 billion a month contract that just launched. We are in discussions with other companies to do the same. Over time, especially with orbital data centers, we expect to serve AI at extremely high scale. Wow. So, this is big. Wow. I mean, this is why these numbers are about to get so fun to watch here. This is literally going to be like fireworks going off. So I think that's one reason why SpaceX investors want to own it. Elon Musk is such a deal maker, and there's going to be so much opportunities. There's going to be so much explosive revenue growth. Like this is insane. So, and I still think it's crazy that Elon pivoted, and actually. Ooh, Aiden with a message. If Tesla and SpaceX merge, any fun ideas for the parent company name? Ooh, I don't know. I think X or SpaceX. I don't know. I'm curious. Maybe you could put that in the comments if people have ideas. But wow. I'm just rattled by this news right here because SpaceX offering compute as a service, like literally getting into an AWS like business, I guess makes perfect sense that they're going to, do all these data centers in space because now they're already in the like renting it out business. But I didn't see this coming, and remember, Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, was blown away at Elon and xAI's ability to build a Colossus data center and get it set up in a matter of days, which I think goes back to Tesla's Dojo, the FSD expertise. It's crazy how these are all interlinked. But xAI, which now owned by SpaceX, built data centers. So that's an advantage that Anthropic doesn't have, that Cursor doesn't have, that OpenAI doesn't have, is you have basically Elon Musk's ability to vertically integrate and actually build the data center. He owns the data center. Everyone else is renting compute. So that's a theme that's in every single one of Elon's companies is vertically integrated, owning your own destiny. And so that is actually insane. So, and we got a comment here from Jason. Other hyperscalers are going to fund SpaceX CapEx in order to get early data. I'm favoriting this. I don't even know how that works, but that goes hard. Think about this. SpaceX is the only company that is going to let you launch. That's why this is just hitting me how genius this is. So if SpaceX is the only company that is the ability to launch cheap stuff to orbit, and eventually the way we expand compute goes to orbit in 2 to 3 years, data centers on Earth are capped out, then now you have all these hyperscalers paying SpaceX huge money, funding the Terafab, funding orbital data centers, paying SpaceX billions of dollars, subsidizing all of their CapEx to get their data centers going. So I think that's a crazy game theory situation. I mean, you already have companies like StarCloud trying to pay SpaceX to launch data centers in space. A ton of other companies are doing the same thing. So at what point is SpaceX just sitting on such a strategic position here where they can raise the price of launch? They can only launch what they want. I mean, we've seen this play out with Starlink. Amazon is fumbling the bag on their satellite internet service. SpaceX not only took the idea, but ran with it, is successful with it, has proved they can do it uber profitably, as we found today in the S-1 filing. I think they're about to do that same thing with data centers in space. Everyone's dilly-dallying with it. SpaceX is going to come to market with an insanely profitable, insanely dominant service when it comes to this. And now they're laying the ground pieces to be the next AWS, to be the next Google Cloud, to be Microsoft Azure. All of those businesses are on fire right now, growing hundreds of billions of dollars of revenue. Let me go into Grok right now and get some stats for y'all, because I think this is big. So, okay, we got Grok chiming in here, but SpaceX becoming a compute infrastructure hyperscaler. I mean, this is crazy news that we're talking about, folks. Okay, we got Grok cooking it up for us. AWS, 150 billion annual run rate. Azure, 140. Google Cloud, 80. We're talking about a $300 billion annualized run rate in this market right now. Anthropic deal is a strong proof point. Hundreds of billions of market today. $15 billion annualized contract. High margins. Wow, $2.5 billion in cash profit. Huge new revenue stream for SpaceX's AI segment, which was only $818 million in Q1. multiple billions to tens of billions of revenue. Wow. So SpaceX is really getting into this idea of becoming its own cloud provider and hyperscaler company. I mean, this is kind of something I just did not expect. And like, we thought the Cursor deal was crazy. Now they're doing this $15 billion annualized deal. Once again, SpaceX did $18 billion in revenue last year as a full company on every single business. Every single business they own, $18 billion in revenue. Starlink launches all of it. They just doubled that essentially overnight with one deal. I mean, and they didn't even, what's crazy is SpaceX didn't even own the infrastructure. It was XAI that owned Colossus. SpaceX, so for everyone that's saying we overpaid for XAI, I think you gotta rethink that situation, because XAI just came in clutch and doubled all of SpaceX's revenue with this one deal. I'm still trying to think through the actual like mechanics of this. Like, how does SpaceX have 15 billion to compute? Why is Anthropic paying them so much? Are they actually making a profit on it? Or are they just spending a ton of money on it? I don't know. You know, currently the Anthropic deal is 60% of SpaceX revenue, something like that. So no one saw this coming. I'm like, what is the next shoe to drop here? I think we're living in hyperchange. The pace of deal making is going to only accelerate. And so I think we're just going to keep seeing, and Elon just said that he's in talks to do this with other companies. Like, what? So if they sign one more deal like this, that'll add another 15 billion in revenue. Now all of a sudden SpaceX is at 55 billion in revenue tomorrow run rate with another deal like this. So this shows why I think it's so dangerous to like discount Elon and think it's overvalued based on, you're looking in the rear view mirror. If you look at the financials, this whole filing that we just looked at, this is looking in the rear view mirror. There's clues about the future, but all of this is in the rear view mirror. It's all about the future. The value of why you're buying SpaceX is not the businesses in this document. It's the businesses they're going to build in the future. So, all right, I think I'm wrapping up here. I'm going to leave y'all with my projections one more time. Either 5.7 to 6.3 or 4 billion in revenue next quarter from SpaceX. I'm be covering it here on HyperChange. Huge shout out to the people who fund me on Patreon or subscribe to me on X. Thank y'all for supporting the show, independent financial media. I'm having a blast scheming with y'all, but make sure to subscribe and tune in because I'm going to be covering SpaceX IPO. I've been investing in SpaceX since 2020, I think, based on my SPV. Let's see if that comes through. Who knows? But you know, been hodling Tesla since 2012. I've been waiting for this moment. And I think 2026 and 2027 are going to be like insane years for the Elon empire. We're going to get the potential merger. We're going to get insane revenue growth. The AI wave is taking off. We're going to see this sport of kings with all these billions of dollars of deals go down, just like Elon did with Anthropic. Like, things are going to get crazy. So I would definitely strap in. This is better than any show on Netflix. I hope this opens a floodgate of more IPOs coming. Anthropic, OpenAI gets these exciting companies public so Americans and people around the world can buy them and become shareholders. I mean, how cool is it? On this historic day, SpaceX is literally trying to go to Mars. We have a company whose official mission is to go to Mars. They have set up their whole system so that Elon Musk has full decision-making power, so nobody and these Wall Street people can't stop the mission to get to Mars. This is going to be hundreds of billions of dollars of capital is flowing into SpaceX right now. Capitalism is funding this human mission to Mars voluntarily, not put out by governments. It's the free markets funding the SpaceX IPO to go to Mars and build the technology to make humans multiplanetary. Like, this is such a moment of capitalism and human and American history right now. America is about to be 250 years old. It's the same year SpaceX IPOs. This is the start of a crazy new chapter of building the moon base, going to space. It's so simple but so obvious. Humanity's on one planet and now we're going to infinity planets. The TAM of what humans could be just went infinite once we go to space. This is the start of us living in Star Trek and Star Wars and just a crazy future that we literally cannot imagine right now. So everything we've seen from Tesla and SpaceX and XAI is just scratching the surface, is nothing, is just a little just salt sprinkle preview of what is about to be coming. And this IPO is cementing it because it's going to be 50, 100 billion of fresh capital that is plowing into this mission to develop these crazy technologies. So we're witnessing history. Like it's officially the longest live stream in HyperChane history. It's officially one of the craziest days in Wall Street history. It's epic. Anyway, I'm so thankful that y'all joined me on this live stream to tune in to cover the SpaceX IPO. Is there anything else I missed here? Bro is still live. Of course I'm still live. I mean, we've been covering a lot of schemes here. Asteroid mining, the moon base, orbital data centers in 2028, the new Anthropic deal, the Cursor deal, the financials here. We modeled out SpaceX's financials. I mean, has anyone else done that yet? I don't know. But anyway, this is HyperChane. Wait, is there any other, maybe there's I got some other DMs of ideas of people scheming and stuff. I'm not sure. Grok. Oh, I asked Grok about the 100 billion revenue run rate for SpaceX. Let's see what it's saying. Ooh. Wow. 2031 SpaceX crosses. I'm not making this up. Grok says 2031 is when SpaceX. Oh, no, it's on this screen now. 2031 is when SpaceX crosses 100 billion in revenue run rate at a 40 to 50% CAGR. I think they're going to be growing way faster than that. Way faster than that. Even Grok can't keep up with the projections that are going on right now. So, I guess lastly, this is the most important, one of the most important days in stock market history. This is a big time chance of Tesla merger. Good question there. I'm going to put the chance of the Tesla merger at exactly 60%. I think it's going to be, I think there's a very good chance that Tesla and SpaceX merge. I think Elon wants Tesla and SpaceX to merge. I think there's a lot of logistics. There's the vote that has to happen. He can't control how these companies trade in the open market. If SpaceX is at 5 trillion, Tesla's at 1 trillion, I don't think that the deal makes sense. So I think everything is up in the air right now. I'd be suggesting ideas on X to Elon about the merger. I don't know. Y'all should throw your hat in the ring. Who knows? I think they're still figuring this out. I don't think there's a master plan. I don't think they know what's going on. I think they're just brick by brick IPOing SpaceX. Then they're going to look at how to do the merger. I think Elon wants to do the merger. There's all this talk in this S-1 IPO filing of what they're doing together. So I just feel like it is kind of inevitable. But at the same time, it's difficult. So I'm putting it at a 60% chance that they merge. I think it's more likely than not, but I think it's not a done deal. It's just, frankly, I don't know. It's also out of, it's above my pay grade, if I'm being honest. But I do think it's probably going to happen. And then we're going to have a company that's $4 trillion that is going to get so much hate in the press. It's going to be crazy. So maybe there's no reason to keep them separate. But also, it seems dumb to keep them separate if they're working together so much. So we're in uncharted territory here. I mean, Tesla and SpaceX combined is more like a government entity than a company even. It's so powerful and big, especially when they're going to control space. So this is truly a priceless asset. I don't think we'll ever have an IPO this epic. I'm not going to lie. And the fact that we get to watch SpaceX, I'm so pumped that they're under 20 billion in revenue and we get to watch them just report these monster quarters. Like, if you're a finance nerd and economics, like, this is going to be fun. Like, every quarter, SpaceX is just going to bam, bam, bam. Crazy growth, crazy new products, crazy new mind-blowing things. We're going to be watching them land on the moon. We're going to be shareholders in it. Then they're going to be going to Mars. Maybe we'll have an in on Mars real estate if we're SpaceX shareholders. I don't even know, but it's going to be wild. I do want to get people warned that there's so much volatility in this IPO. That's my one prediction for sure. I think this is going to pop to 3 to 4 trillion, maybe even more, 4.2 trillion potentially. When this IPOs. And then I think there's going to be, people are going to get a little too excited. There's going to be lockups happening, that trickle of lockups. Then the stock could potentially go down a little. There's going to be a trough of rockets not happening, a tumble to $1.5 trillion market cap. I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of volatility in this IPO. So I'd be super prepared for that. If you're going to be a shareholder and going to be, riding this wave, it's easy to say, oh, I want to own SpaceX and hold it for 10 years, but there's going to be moments where it looks tricky. So, I'm pumped that they mentioned asteroid mining and all these manufacturing in space on the moon. I don't know how that would even work, to be honest. I think it's a little far-fetched to do manufacturing on the moon and stuff. Like, it seems crazy. Like, how would that even work? But, I like this. I like the merger, so I don't have to decide what to invest. That's a great point, too. And to be honest, Elon Musk has done right by Tesla shareholders. They had a huge return. They've crushed it. He's done a great job at fairly giving value to all of his companies. I don't see this changing at all. No matter what happens, merger or not, I do think Tesla shareholders are going to be rewarded. Tesla stock right now has been rising in excitement with this IPO. So I think, but it'll be cool once everyone's invested in SpaceX as well. Like, I think it'll just be exciting. It'll be weird to cover two Elon companies. I'm excited to hear him on the SpaceX conference call. Like, I think that's going to be a mood. Elon on the SpaceX conference call, like, just scheming on orbital data centers, saying all the stuff they're up to, like, that could be coming up in a month or two. So that's crazy. Anyway, 2.5 hour live stream. Love y'all so much. SpaceX is about to IPO. I feel bad signing off because there's so many people, but maybe I'll do another live stream soon. We have some more news to analyze. But this is HyperChane. Love y'all. See you next time. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hit me up on X. Follow me on X. Patreon. Subscribe on X. Support the show. Retweet. And I'll see y'all next time. My name is Gally. We're witnessing history. This is so epic. Congrats to the SpaceX team. This was a grind to get this document out, and they crushed it. So see y'all next time.